Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. My name is Scott Reisch. This is Crime Talk. This is our Tuesday night live. Let's get straight to the docket. First, Barry Morphew wants a new house. At least he wants to get rid of his old one. A 65-year-old. Let me start over again. A man gets 65 years for the disappearance of a woman that he knows. He denies anything about it, but his son said he made me do it. Don't do stupid thing, but particularly to police officers' houses. And as always, our dumb criminal contestant of the day. Don't mess with the mail. Let's talk about it. Good evening, Crime Talk aficionados. This is Crime Talk. My name is Scott Reisch, and you're watching the most unbiased, fact-driven, true crime channel on YouTube, and hopefully listening to the podcast as well. You may have noticed we didn't put a video up today. Why? I was in trial. Still am in trial, but I like to keep my commitments and follow through. And so we're doing our live, and we're going to do it all in one show. We'll go through the docket, then we'll talk about what you are interested in talking about. I wish I could tell you about the trial. It's going better. It's going very, very well. Let's just put it that way. And we'll see how things go, whether I'll be able to talk about it more in a couple of days. We shall see. Now, let's get to our docket this evening. And I apologize. We literally walked in the door and sat down here because we had to go what they call a jury instruction conference with the judge to make sure that everything's kind of ready to go and that we can roll right into instructions tomorrow. So as we all know, Suzanne Morphew still missing, right? No one's been able to find her. Her husband is allegedly been less than cooperative with the police. And obviously we give everyone the presumption of innocence, and he's been not accused of any crimes in any way whatsoever. Well, now he is wanting to sell his home in Maysville. That's right. Guess what? $1.75 million. That's right. $1,759,000 is what the property is listed for. Not bad for a landscaper, I guess, right? That's a lot of house. In that part of the state, that gets you a lot of house for sure. So we'll see. Now, the home originally showed up on several real estate websites, and then later in the day, the listings had been deactivated on the husband of his obviously wife, Suzanne Morphew. Apparently he's not digging Colorado much anymore. At least wants to get out of that big house. Maybe some bad memories. Maybe it's just too much house now that he's kind of an empty nester, so to speak, I guess. We'll have to see what he decides to do with that because, like I said, he's not been charged with anything, and apparently he's feeling pretty confident that if you need me, guys, you know where to find me for sure. It's going to be an interesting case, no doubt. Next on the docket, a 54-year-old man in Illinois will spend the next 65 years in prison for the 2010 murder of a woman in Alton, Illinois. Bonnie Woodward vanished June 25th, 2010 from the parking lot of the Alton nursing home where she worked. A missing persons report was filed the next day when she didn't show up for work. At that time, investigators suspected Roger Carroll to be responsible for her disappearance, but several searches didn't find anything. Now, in April of 2018, authorities went back to Carroll's property using backhoes and hand shovels to search for very specific area in a rugged and hilly part on the land. On April 12th, the prosecutors charged Carroll with 3 counts of first-degree murder. The case was reopened after Carroll's son testified to the Madison County grand jury, and he told the grand jury his father forced him to hide Woodward's remains on the property. It's also alleged that Carroll made his son mow over the grass where Woodward's body was left, and Carroll burned Woodward's body and forced his son to shovel the scattered ashes around the property. Boy, does that sound familiar? Anything we've had here in Colorado at all? My goodness. It's like nobody ever learns anything. You always get caught. Don't do it. Well, when Mr. Carroll went to court for sentencing, his moment of allocution, he said he had nothing to state to the court and he had nothing to apologize for in any way because he's done nothing wrong. He states he didn't get a fair trial, and he's told the judge, "You made sure that I did not get a fair trial," whereupon the court imposed the 64-year-old a 65-year sentence. Don't do that. Don't do that. You're going to get caught. Somebody always talks. Next on the docket, 4 suspects face attempted murder charges for shooting at the home of police officers in New Jersey. Authorities have nabbed 4 men who shot up the home of 2 police officers in New Jersey. And the suspects, of course, are saying they had no idea that police officers lived there in any way. That makes it sound so much better, doesn't it? That would make it just a random shooting where they would go shoot up houses. That makes it all better. No, it doesn't. The suspects, obviously presumed innocent, 18-year-old Jeremiah McDonald, Julio Nieves, Chaka Stiles are both 19 years old, and then Kobe Johnson, who's 30. So you got 2 19-year-olds, an 18, and a 30-year-old. Gee, you think the 30-year-old maybe could give a little better advice? So anyway, these 2 police officers had recently purchased this home, had a baby, were inside the house when gunfire erupted shortly before midnight, according to police reports. No one was injured in the shooting as the bullets tore through the first floor of the home. Just crazy. Don't do that. All right. Obviously, police take shootings very seriously, but when you shoot up police officers' homes, they take it real serious, and they are going to come and get you, and they're going to find you. That's just the way it is. Now, next on the docket, our dumb criminal contestant of the day. Now, our dumb criminal contestant is a Florida man, and his name is David Dunaway. And according to police reports, he came up to a woman, and she noticed him because he was wearing only a pair of underwear, and he was taking mail out of her mailbox. When the woman questioned Mr. Dunaway, he began yelling at her and swung at her through her car window because she was pulling up, and hit her with the mail. The woman attempted to drive a bit to put a little distance between herself and the man, but he chased after her. At this point, the woman pulled out a gun and threatened to shoot if he came any closer. The man, only in his underwear and armed with mail, fled. He was ultimately arrested, charged with burglary and assault and battery, as well as resisting an officer. I mean, maybe he was just confused. I don't know. But you don't mess with people's mail. I mean, people don't get that much mail in the mailbox anymore. So if you have something there, it's probably junk mail if it's like anything that I get in my mailbox at home, since I have everything come to the office. But you just don't mess with it. You just don't mess with people's mail. So that's our docket quickly for today, since we didn't really get to have a docket, given the fact that I was in trial, and that's the way it is. We were literally in court till 5:45, drove back here to the office, sat down, and going forward with our Crime Talk Live this evening. Now, there's lots of things going on in the world. Obviously, like we talked about the last couple of days, we have the guy named Chris. We can't mention his name because then the YouTube censor people start blocking videos. They start demonetizing videos. It's just the way it is. Some people simply just don't like people talking about a particular case. I don't get it. I don't understand it. if it's truthful, accurate information, what is wrong with presenting that? Maybe sometimes people don't always get presented in the best light, but if that's the truth, that's just the way it is. Let's face it, we all have things we probably wouldn't look good at if it was recorded every day in our life, and people could probably twist it some way or the other. But the reality of it is that is it. Now, we still have Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow out there as well. Not a whole lot going on with their cases right now. I still think it's a little interesting that Lori Vallow's attorney had filed a motion for extension of time to file his pretrial motions, and nothing has been ruled on by the court. I'm not sure, why the court just doesn't grant it. Some of their filings have been late by the time it gets to the court. I don't understand that. But usually when you file something with the court and you don't get a ruling, guess what? You need to comply with the previous court date that was set by the court. Otherwise, you have to file for leave and try to explain to the court why you were unable to meet the original motions deadline. I'm a firm believer, unless you absolutely positively, and it's going to affect your ability to be effective assistance to counsel, you meet the court's deadline. You got to meet the court's deadline. But so far, nothing surprises me in that particular case. So let me just move something here real quick. So anyway, it's been kind of a long day. You know how it always is. Things are finally starting to pick up in this COVID area. This is the first trial that I've had actually in the COVID area. It's very interesting in the sense that the jurors all sit in the gallery because you can't have them sitting next to each other in the jury box. And everybody's running around in masks all day long. And it's very interesting because normally when you conduct voir dire, you really can get a feel for jurors based upon their facial expressions and movements, and you can't do that with a mask. So we'll see, I guess, if we have any feedback in the next couple of days. If we picked a good jury, we'll just have to see. Slam RN, we are being censored. And I don't remember which of the Google founders it was, but one of them, is it Sergey, who comes from, or his parents came from Russia. They came here and they were very originally offended by the fact that there was any censorship whatsoever. But yet now, if the right people or the right side, if that's the thing you're supposed to say, if you're on the right side of an issue, and Google agrees with you, they can make things okay. There's a comedian out there, what is it, Awaken with JP, guy's hilarious. And he was doing a skit, a comedy parody about life in a COVID world. And the thing had like 2.2 million views, and they took it down because they said that he was spreading false COVID news. It's, I just don't get it. That's the problem, with YouTube is you put something up, a computer looks at it, you request a human to review it, and maybe they'll get around to it in a couple of days. And sometimes they approve you, sometimes they deny it, saying it's okay, and you just have no idea. It's completely arbitrary. They say, their rules depends. Really what it matters is who's sitting on this side, if they find that it's okay or not okay. Like I said, you don't have a right not to be offended out there, ladies and gentlemen. And the truth is always good. Shining light, even if it's facts you disagree with. And there's lots of crazy ideas out there, but that's okay. Let them tell their crazy ideas. And hopefully people say those are crazy ideas. If they're good ideas, you shouldn't have any problem with it. But when you say, if you don't agree with my idea, we have to shut you down and your idea is bad and should never be heard from again, that's a little scary. It really is. That's the kind of stuff that used to happen in, communist dictator countries. And, there's all kinds of things that have been censored. And, And America's had its problems. I put some out on our community page the other day about maybe doing like a book club, and I think that would be interesting. And one of the books that I put out there was To Kill a Mockingbird, which was a book that I read when I was young. Inspires, hey, I want to be Atticus Finch. I want to be that attorney, in there representing, rights and all that type of good stuff. But that book was banned at one point. I mean, it's a classic, and yet there was people that said, oh, it's too sensitive. You can't review it. We don't like the ideas that it's talking about. It makes some people look bad. Well, facts are facts. It's not like it, yes, it's it's fiction, but obviously it's based on some reality. So I just don't get it. So we're going to do that. We put it on the community page. I think first book we're going to do To Kill a Mockingbird. When I get out done with trial, we'll look at the calendar. We'll set it out, a couple of weeks so people have time to get the book, read the book, and we'll be able to do that. We'll see. If someone thinks YouTube censors too much, they can come up with a competing company. I totally agree. And if I, didn't want to deal with YouTube anymore, I could not do my videos. And if somebody has, a couple $1 billion right away, they could go start up a new YouTube. Probably not going to happen given the high barriers of entry. But it's just ironic, I remember I had law school class, and a really smart professor said, the law becomes its own opposite, but maintains itself as a rational body of discourse. And what that means is the law changes, and over the years, things change, but the law should be able to, you should be able to read the cases and explain how you got to the changes or maybe the complete opposite of the law. And it's ironic that, we usually become what we despise. Google was originally all about just putting out their algorithm, putting up the best results, but now you can see that it can be manipulated. And it's not just YouTube, it's anybody. They do it for their advertisers and things of that nature. I get that, but at least just tell me that it's an advertisement. Obviously they do. It's pretty obvious, but it's funny. People often become what they despise. It's interesting to me, that an organization like that becomes so big that they don't, it's great when you're the little guy, but then once you become the established guy, it's the old, hey, now that we're here and established, pull the ladder up so no one else can get on board. And then they want to make sure the laws all protect them. And it's not just big tech. There's lots of companies out there that do that. And, if I had a big media empire, I'm sure I would be trying to manipulate it in the best way I can to make the most amount of money. And, it would probably seem hypocritical at some point, because I do believe in putting all the ideas out there. And, that's why, like I said, we try to be unbiased, fact driven. And I love it. I swear I love it. I can go through the comments on any given show. Oh my gosh, you are so biased in favor of the police. And then the next, oh my gosh, you're just a typical defense attorney. How could you do that? And so the way I look at it is we must be doing something right if we're telling it the way it is. So, all right, let's take a couple of questions here. Make me stop. When I agree to make a YouTube account, I agree to the rules. And that's a sensible crime. I cannot necessarily disagree with that statement. Not censorship unless you make me stop speaking my mind on the street. And I agree. And obviously it's not a First Amendment violation because YouTube is not a governmental entity. It's a private organization, and they can make up the rules that they want, and they can make their rules as arbitrary and capricious as they want. And eventually, if they do become so arbitrary and capricious and people aren't getting the ideas that they want, yes, someone will in fact go start another YouTube-like channel. I mean, there's lots of, platforms out there. think about all the platforms that, people have gone through where they were super popular. Maybe YouTube will, become that way one day. You just never know. But I mean, there's things, the TikTok, no one even heard of TikTok, what was it, a year ago or something? Then it was Snapchat, then it was Instagram, things come and go as quickly. As they come and go very, very quickly. So yeah, hey, I agree. I mean, the reality of it is it's your company, and if we didn't want to put stuff on YouTube, we could just put it straight on our website. But obviously, YouTube helps us to get the word out there. They're the biggest. There's no doubt about that. Just being realistic. I just it gets frustrating when, like I said, you look at old interviews from the founders, and it was all about just getting the information out there, good, bad, or ugly, get it out there. And now it's completely changed. So, all right. Oh, somebody sent me a super chat here. Look at that. I believe we have a consensus for To Kill a Mockingbird. Let's do it, Scott. All right. There's a link in our community page. If you want to buy it there, I think I put a link to it. It's up to you. You can buy it on your own. Like I said, we'll look at a couple of dates in the next couple of days, and we'll do it. Because I think it's such a great book. I really do love that book, and not to get too far into it, but I love the book. There's a movie, Gregory Peck. I love that movie. It is the best movie ever. The book, it just, I think everybody wants to be Atticus Finch. Know you're doing the right thing, taking those cases that are tough, but you're there to protect someone's constitutional rights. I just, I think every attorney wants to get up there and think, I'm being Atticus Finch. So, thank you, Sylvia. I appreciate that. Thank you for the super chat. Yes, we're going to do it. We'll do To Kill a Mockingbird. Frank, have you ever read To Kill a Mockingbird?
No.
Oh, man, we're going to even make Frank read To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yes, we got to do it.
And it's a great story. Great story. So get your books. If you haven't read it in a few years, get it. And like I said, we're going to do it. It's going to be good. Let's see. Question. Is it difficult to represent someone that you're sure committed the crime and they're being accused, and you're sure that they're being accused of it? Helena Jules. Helena, I mean, we've talked about this before. I get this question quite a bit. I'll be honest with you. It's not the clients that you think are guilty, or they're guilty. It's the innocent clients. It's the clients that you truly believe are innocent. Those are the ones that keep you up at night. Those are the ones that distract you in the middle of the day. When you're with family, you're with the lovely Miss Kristen, and all of a sudden they look at you and realize you're drifting off thinking about something, and you're thinking about a case. So yeah, it's not the guilty ones where they're, you're guilty, because you're protecting their rights. You're protecting their rights to a fair trial, to make sure their constitutional rights are protected. And it is, because like I said, if we let the government railroad guilty people, I assure you they will think that they can start doing it to innocent people. So although little old street lawyers like me, we're out there every day. Everyone, criminal defense attorneys hate them until they need them, till their friend needs them. The reality of it is that we are down there in the trenches every day protecting everyone's constitutional rights. Those cases that go up to the United States Supreme Court, guess where they all start? Down at the trial court level, little trial court, street lawyers down there advocating, arguing for their client to make sure, and saying, hey, you can't do that, government. That's wrong. So yeah. Let's see. Dying to get justice for Julius Jones at OK City. I'm not familiar with that case, at least not off the top of my head. Yes, Patreon. I forgot to mention that. Yes, Patreon. We will do our Patreon shortly after we end our live stream here this evening. Like I said, I apologize we didn't get a video up because I've been in trial. I'd love to talk about the trial, but maybe after it's done, we can talk about it. It's got so many good issues. It's just interesting, and I can't wait to hopefully be able to talk about it. Let's see, has done his, let's see, imagine defending Joel Guy. Yikes. Yeah, that was the gentleman who was recently found guilty, I think late Friday afternoon, was it, for doing terrible things to his parents and then doing terrible things to the parents' remains. Yeah, not good. That was the case where, and let's face it, every attorney that's handled serious criminal cases that, you've had that trial where it's like, man, you got nothing. You've got nothing. And you're in there just taking your lumps because more than likely the offer was plead guilty, go to prison for the rest of your life. You don't do that. All right. You don't do that as a criminal defense attorney. It's ultimately the client's choice, but I've never, advised an attorney, hey, let's do that. Go plead guilty, go to prison for the rest of your life. Oh, screw that. Like we'll go sit there for a week. It's not like your client probably has anywhere to be. So you go try the case and you sit there and you, sometimes you take your beatings and you get up and you argue reasonable doubt. That's all you've got. But that's still how the process works. Make the government prove it. Who knows? We've all had those cases where they don't bring in the right witness. They don't get the evidence in. It's really straightforward. Yes. All right. Yeah. See, people, I was so wound up when I got here because I was still in that trial adrenaline mode, and now it's just kind of crashing all of a sudden. But yes, so a couple of things. We'll do our Patreon. If you are not a Patreon member, please sign up. You can go there. We'll send you a link shortly thereafter, and we'll continue our conversation. And I promise I will drink another Red Bull here. I've had 2 Red Bulls today and a granola bar. That's all I've eaten. So I've literally just run on pure adrenaline. And hopefully tomorrow we'll get done with the trial and be able to do a video as well. But we'll do our Patreon this evening, and we will talk about anything you want to talk about. That's truly your time. And as always, we'll have the magic 8-ball question. That's kind of started out as a kind of in jest, but now it's kind of funny. Every week we come up with a question in our Patreon group and ask the magic 8-ball that you can see sitting right there. See there, the magic 8-ball. Magic 8-ball has always done really, really well. Go eat dinner? No, we will eat something in between our break tonight and our Patreon. I haven't gone much longer this, and I certainly could use losing a few pounds. The COVID-30 has caught up with me. Scott, does your blood pressure go up when you drink those Red Bulls? I don't know. I think I probably have to consume about 4 of them. I think I average at least no less than 2 to probably about 3 a day. But it's, I don't drink coffee. That is my stimulant in the morning to get things going. I really, Red Bulls are good. Doesn't bother me at all. It's all good. Let's see. Caroline Maslin, when you really, really think someone is mentally unwell, what do you do with them? Well, it depends, Caroline. The question is, are they mentally ill in the sense they're in a criminal case and they're not competent to proceed, or maybe there's some underlying mental health issues that they need to get treatment on? Part of the thing, they always say attorney and counselor at law. Some days I feel more of a counselor than anything, kind of like a life coach, to be honest with you, simply for the fact that you're constantly trying to help people get through difficult situations. and letting them know that if they made one mistake in their life, that is not necessarily going to define them. Many, many times, we have clients, and like I said, I'm no psychiatrist, nor am I a psychologist, but I've had lots of clients and I've read lots of psychological reports and evaluations over the years. So you kind of get the feel for it. But the thing is, you want to get the client the help that they need. That's really what it boils down to. If they're not competent, you want to get them comped and make sure that they are in fact competent to proceed, make sure they understand. Sometimes, it's like, what's the issue? When you have clients that have underlying drug and alcohol issues, sometimes you got to have, you sound like a, psychiatrist, like, what's the issue? What are you trying to escape from? What reality are you trying to escape? Because when you're done with the drugs, guess what? We're back to reality. And usually it's just made it a hell of a lot worse. So, a lot of times I hate to say it, it's like, it's talking about that elephant in the room and saying, you got a problem. And, I get lots of, people that ask, what should I do for my kid? It's in custody. Should I bond him out? And the toughest thing you have to do sometimes is tell parents, if you want to help your son or daughter, don't. Simply don't bail them out. Don't enable them. They've got to, figure it out on their own. So I don't know. The goal is, we always want to get the client the help. Sometimes you can't solve all of their legal issues to their desire, but sometimes maybe you can help them make a breakthrough, so to speak, where they get the help and they really turn their life around. That's usually the goal. Let's see, Scott, earlier someone asked if there's ever a time you're afraid of a court case. I'm not quoting right. Are you ever afraid of a case? No, I can't think I've ever been afraid of a case. There's been some cases with some bad facts, and you're like, man, I'm going to go get my head beat in here. What can I do to get a better result for the client? I've had family members threaten me in court. I had a guy once in a homicide case. I'm walking out to my car and I'm walking down one row and the car next to me is the family walking, kind of following me, walking me out to my car. And as they drive away, they make their finger in the shape of like a gun or something. And, I called the DA and said, hey, just tell your family I'm just doing my job. No one's looking for any trouble. And, then they call me back and like, hey, this family's like real serious. You need to be careful. We'll escort you in and out. I'm like, I'm not going to even worry about that. People that have brought weapons into the courtroom, we think, for my client that they wanted to do terrible things to him with sharp objects that somehow got through security, or they were stopped at security, I guess. And it's funny because the client who was accused and ultimately convicted of doing some very, very, really bad things was just this little like, oh my gosh, you're not going to let them get me. And I'm like, are you kidding me? You're in custody. I got to walk to my car. And the only person they probably hate more than you right now is me for having to represent you. So I'm not sure what you're worried about. So never had any of those types of, I've never been afraid of a case, frankly. And particularly when I was a young attorney, I used to like watch the news like, oh, I hope I get that case. Oh, I want that, like that would be so good. It's like anything, I think if you are a trial attorney, you say, give me the toughest, give me the worst of the worst. I want to do the case. Give me that impossible case and let me see what I can do with it. Something that no one else has ever done. Those are the kinds of cases that I really, really like. And you get a great result. I've had a couple of cases where I was like, man, you got nothing. And bam, can walk, you walk the client out the door. So yeah. Let's see here. Most childhood traumas. Jackie Thompson. I think a lot of it has to do with childhood traumas. If that goes back to kind of, what's the word I'm looking at? The mental health issues or drug and alcohol. It does. I think as you get older, you realize how much your parents probably screwed you up. And that really affects who you are today. You're either going to be like them or you're going to be completely opposite of them. That's just the way it is. Let's see. Is it Shelley 8484? Yes, the two brothers, Amish brothers. I did see something about that case, but we have not discussed it here. But sounds terrible for sure. Let's see. Do mitigating factors ever really matter? Daniel Johnson. Yes, they do. So great question there, Daniel. All right. So obviously in any criminal case, you have defenses and you have mitigation. Defense is something that says, I am legally excused for my conduct. So let's say somebody's charged with homicide and you say, hey, I was self-defense. I was completely justified. That's a defense. But then you have mitigating factors. Well, the person that is now deceased was the same person that had abused this person for many, many years. Now, may not be in a defense in the law, but it's certainly mitigating factors. And I'm telling you, most district attorneys will look at you and say, give me some mitigation. Like, this is my offer. This is the offer my boss gave me. And I need, give me some mitigation so I can put it in my file. Whether they're taking drug and alcohol classes, they're in treatment. What are they doing to correct the issue so that they don't come back to the court again? That they basically get the help. A lot of DAs, there's some tough ones out there, but a lot of them truly, I think, want to help people get better. You particularly see if there's lots of drug and alcohol issues. They want to see, what are we going to do to get these people through this so that, they can get their life on track. Doesn't happen in any case, but mitigation is so huge, particularly in plea negotiations. And mitigating factors can be, hey, he's never been in trouble before. This is just one bad day. He's got a wife, kid, he's going to lose his job. Those are all mitigating factors that district attorneys can and should take into consideration. Obviously, the more serious the case gets, the better mitigation you better have. All right. Let's see. Are you kidding me? Every criminal defense attorney has. What kind of, okay. So hopefully, Daniel, that helps explain that between defense and mitigating factors. Mitigation is literally anything that would help reduce the punishment in any way. People say, oh, he came from a broken home. We've all heard it before. I don't care if he was, abused as a child. I'm telling you, I when I was younger, maybe even lost, I was like, what does it matter? And you start reading some of these pre-sentence investigation reports where, most of them ask, have you been the victim of physical abuse as a child growing up? Has there been any sexual abuse during the trial? And so many times that comes up. You would not be surprised how many people that has been affected. And that stuff goes on. And if people don't get the help for that, it really, really does affect them for the rest of their lives. And they need to get that help. So, coming from a, bad childhood, does it mean, and judges will say, hey, there's lots of people that have had rough childhoods and never get in trouble with the law in any way whatsoever. So it's not an excuse. All right. It's not a defense, but sometimes it helps explain how people got there. If you bounced around and had no family, in foster homes, and when you were, 18 years old, they kicked you out. Think about all the help your parents, have given you. Like, hey, Dad, we're a little short, got the car broke down. Can you help me out? Imagine if you never had anyone to help you with anything, literally 18 and on your own, and never had a break. And, maybe you've made a few mistakes. It matters. Thanks, Gina, for the super chat. Everyone's busy. So it's just life. Everyone's busy. Jackie, thank you for the super sticker. Appreciate that. Everyone's busy. And so I have no excuse. And The reality of it is there's long days. If, you're going to be a lawyer, plan on long days. Everyone thinks if you're a lawyer somehow, at 5 o'clock, you're home. That's just not the way it is. It is literally a 7-day a week, 365 day job. And at least if you're doing criminal defense, at least if you're having your own law practice, you're always dealing with cases, emails, texts, anything along those lines. So yeah, it never ends. Oh, that's a terrible case there. My dad had a lawyer for a car accident. His lawyer stole so much money from people that one day somebody shot him in the courtroom. That's that's bad. We shouldn't go around shooting people, ladies and gentlemen. That's bad. Even if you go to court, you go through the court process. And don't get me wrong, I had a former employee. Oh, I forgot to mention this, people. Had a former employee stole over the course of years. Somebody I trusted as an office manager stole several hundreds of thousands of dollars from me. And I guess it was last Thursday. Went to prison for 8 years. We should make him a dumb criminal contestant of the day because, first of all, why would you steal from anybody? But two, why would you steal from a criminal defense attorney that's going to put a lock solid case together for the district attorney? And even when you've never been in trouble a day in your life, that's right, you go to the Colorado Department of Corrections. So it can happen to anyone, ladies and gentlemen. You can be a victim. It can happen to you. It's just, you got to be careful out there. You got to trust people. Okay. Now, quickly, I know people get tired of hearing this, but Frank, do you have that report or did you take it with you?
No, I take it with me.
Oh,
I take it.
I wish I had the report. We did a report the other day, and I don't know if it's just me that the picture's really bad here, Frank. Is it just?
No, it's just you.
It's just me. All right. Anyway, we did a background check on someone. Stuff turned up that people didn't know about. Okay. And I saw somebody wrote a comment and said, "Oh my gosh, I did a background search today and I'm calling these people because it turned up information that I didn't like." Okay. I don't know what information it was. They didn't tell me that. They can send me an email at scott@scottrreisch.com. But guess what? If they're saying that's the information out there, they're just collecting the data from the public records. Maybe it's not like you wanted to hear, maybe not anything you wanted to see, but that's what comes up. That's why you should maybe do a criminal background check on yourself to see what's out there. And if it isn't accurate, what can you do to actually, correct it? But the reality of it is most people want to know a little bit. See someone saying it is blurry, real blurry. I thought it was just me.
Oh, I got it here.
Well, on my computer, it's real blurry. I thought maybe the camera there. Anyway, the point is that you probably want to be able to check people out. Who wouldn't check people out in this day and age? If you have the ability to do so, why wouldn't you? It's almost, negligent not to check somebody out these days. And when you can do it in a quick background search, and literally while you wait, millions of public records are searched all over the United States, and a report is generated, and you're going to get information about someone's criminal history, their marital history. Maybe, in fact, you can confirm if they're married or not married. That's kind of a big thing these days. I've seen a lot of that where people are running around saying they're not married, and it turns out they, in fact, are. And you need to check that out. If you get involved in a relationship with somebody, you meet somebody on the internet, why would you not check people out? You're going to do a quick Google search. What is that going to do? But if you go to crimetalksearch.com, you can search all these records. They prepare a report. You're going to get bankruptcy records, personal judgments, property records, divorce records, phone numbers associated with a particular individual. So if this person has 4 numbers coming up, but he only lets you know about one of them. You may want to ask, who are the other 3 for? Email addresses. Oh, I didn't know you had other email addresses. What are those for? Interesting, right? Social media. Why do you have separate social media? I didn't know you were on social media. Why won't you let me follow you or be your friend on a particular social media? Maybe they don't want somebody to do that. So you need to check people out. It's the smart thing to do. It's the safe thing to do. Yes, there's a fee associated with it. Nothing's free, ladies and gentlemen. Just the reality of life. But it's a nominal fee and you can stop at any time, but you'll be happy you did. You'll be satisfied that you did. And who knows, maybe there's information out there that's not accurate, but at least you can go and check it out, because that's what they didn't make it up. The background company didn't make it up. It's the information that's out there from public databases. So maybe there's something that you didn't know about. So think about it. Let's see here. Yep. All right. I think we're back. I think we're better. Yes. And you see that Eddie Van Halen died today?
Oh, yeah.
Man, I'm telling you, and this probably totally dating myself, but remember Van Halen, that video Jump? And back, I mean, gosh, I was in like junior high, and not everybody had cable TV, which had MTV, and you knew it was going to be on at 3:00. So you tried to go home and your friend, because they had cable and you could watch MTV, and then you knew they were going to play Van Halen Jump right at that time. It was like the coolest thing ever. Yeah. Can you imagine? It's just, and he wasn't that old, 65, I believe, throat cancer, just too sad for sure. All right. Let's talk very quickly. There's got to be other cases that you're interested in. There's got to be some legal procedure that you all are interested in, because, this is a true crime podcast. Obviously, a lot of our cases that we talk about are in the daily news. And, obviously there is a gap sometime in cases because, you have events, there's a gap, then a new one, an arraignment, a motions date, a trial date is spread out. But, there's so much out there, and the dumb criminal. And the other thing you really got to be looking for these days is a lot of, it's just, yeah. I mean, you got to be careful. Let's see, Daniel Johnson, background check link, $15 a month for 3 months, done many in 2 days. It's actually, you can do as many as you want. I'm telling you, and check it out. If you don't like it, cancel it. But I'm telling you, your neighbor, your friends, kids, their parents, what are they doing? What does it hurt? It just doesn't matter. When are they going to convict Letitia? Referring to Letitia Stout. First, they got to make her competent, which I think she will ultimately be found competent. But we'll see. I think her letters to the judge saying that, hey, this is just a big misunderstanding, we got to move along, and I need to work on my PhD in education. It shows that she understands and appreciates what's going on, and it's pretty straightforward. Let's see here. Scott, is it against the law to set up a trust for a handicapped child to keep the SSI going after I pass on? Richard, you need to talk to an estate planning attorney. That is so beyond my area of expertise. I do know there's lots of rules out there that need to be followed, and sometimes the estate needs to be exhausted. But Richard, go find a estate planning attorney in your area that can help you. And I'm telling you, it's going to be worth the money to go spend the money to have somebody who knows what they're doing do that. Don't delay. If there's one thing out there that people need, the need is a will. Your estate planning. Everybody, we got to get that done. Everybody needs to do it. But so many people just wait on it. For the longest time, I've wanted to bring on an attorney to just do wills and estate planning, because it's this thing that just nobody does it. And and everybody thinks that, it's super expensive. It doesn't necessarily have to be. It certainly can if you have a large estate, obviously, but most people have, your house, some savings, a 401k. Um, it's pretty straightforward, but everyone should have a will. And that's me. I need to update mine as well, particularly since Crime Talk 1 is coming back. That's right. The engine has been sitting in the hangar for a week now. The mechanic is working on it. I cannot wait to have Crime Talk 1 back. And let me know what you think about this, ladies and gentlemen. We're thinking about maybe doing another channel, maybe not every day, but maybe once a week, talking about plane and aviation stuff and things like that. Because if anybody knows anything about me, has been watching this, I do, in fact, love aviation. I just think it'd be a lot of fun. We could set up a little studio out there at the airplane hangar. It'd be really cool. There's so many interesting people in that. So let me know what you think. Because if we set it up, I'd probably have everybody asked to, go join us. Norm Pattis, what are your thoughts about Norm Pattis keeping Photos Doulos' $250 retainer after he committed suicide and refusing to return the unearned fees to his estate? Jackie, my answer would be it would depend on how the fee agreement was written. If it was a flat fee and it had various hurdles in which the money was supposed to be earned, then Norm Pattis may be able to keep the money. If for some reason it was on an hourly basis, we should do an accounting and give the money back. It depends on the fee agreement, on how it was written. Normally $250,000 for a case that really didn't get going, I think, they'd probably say you probably got to give some of that back. But once again, it depends on what you do. You can contract for just about anything. And if, the attorney says, hey, I'm really busy, I'm really good, my initial retainer is $250,000 to get me on this case, then he may have earned it. Okay. Here in Colorado, there's no such thing as a non-refundable fee, but it just depends on, the services. How do you find a top-notch criminal defense attorney? Nikki, good question. There's so many attorneys out there. There really are. But you need to find an attorney that actually does trials. Okay. Before COVID hit, I did 12 to 15 felony trials a year. Some people don't maybe do 1 or 2 trials in a year. We do 12 to 15. And that's just me, not including other attorneys in my office. You need to find somebody that does trials. And I hate to say, I used to think I was younger. You don't want some old guy. Yeah, you do. You want an old guy that's been around, because guess what? He's taken his lumps. He's learned from it. And he's going to give you the best advice. Sometimes you got to be careful of the young guys. And I know I was a young guy once, but that seems like a long time ago now. But the reality of it is look for somebody with experience and ask them, when was the last time you tried a case to trial? Don't even care if they won or not, because frankly, that may have been a complete loser, but sometimes you got to go try the losers as well. All right. Scott, do you believe that is really that guy named Chris on the jail recordings? It sounds like him at times. Your thoughts? Yeah, I believe it is. Listening to all of the recordings that we have of him, particularly I think we've got it in our playlist, all of the videos or the audios where he's talking to the officers, explaining what he did, why he did it, how he came up with some of these outlandish stories. Because, I didn't even have that until the police officers kind of mentioned it to me, kind of thing. I think that's him. I don't know for sure. There's always a little bit of skepticism out there, but I think it sounds like him. And I think that there's people that, let's face it, there's people that are going to manipulate this guy till the end of the day. And I'm not trying to, whatever makes you happy. If it makes you happy to date a guy who's going to prison for the rest of his life, knock yourself out. Everybody needs human companionship. And if that's where you find it, perfect. That works for you. I'm not going to second guess anybody on anything about that. If it works for you, makes you happy, go for it. But why are these people recording these phone calls? They're doing it, for their own gain or position or something along those lines. We'll see. So yeah, I think that's him. Let's see. I come here to make sure I understand what the fuck I'm talking about on LMAP. Let's see here. Got a couple more. Experience matters. Draco and Kodak. Did you catch the Chris Watts Netflix special? Yes, I did. We had a show about it a couple days ago. I think I watched it last weekend. It was just a collection of information that was made available publicly via the internet, but I thought it was pretty well done. There was, brief mention of Nicole Kessinger. They didn't go into it. I still think our video that we did like 2 years ago, and this is when we first started our channel, and I'm a little embarrassed when I watch it. I'm literally like trying to put trying to do it myself, putting the email, is this the email that started it all or predicted the future? And it was her work email, Nicole Kessinger's email to Chris Watts, and saying, hey, I respect your wife and everything, but basically I'd really like to get with you and spend some time with you. I wish they had gone into a little more of that in depth, but they did not. I still think that's going to be the interesting story that always lingers. All right. I don't think it's going to be a question of, did that guy named Chris do terrible things, to Shanann and his daughters, Cece and, oh my God, why did I freeze? And his two daughters. And, froze. That's not going to be the case. He did it. He confessed to it. All right. The question is going to be whether he ever had anyone else helping him or knew about it. And I'm not saying helping him in the sense it was standing there. I'm not into Bella, Cece and Bella. Sorry, man, I can't believe I had a brain freeze there. And frankly, let's face it, I don't think, even that guy named Chris is dumb enough to confess to his new girlfriend, hey, I'll show you, I'm going to love you, I'm going to go get rid of my wife and kids. I don't think he did that. Did maybe, was there talk of maybe, wow, it'd be great if we could start over, we didn't have all these things holding us down. Yeah, that's kind of the thing out there, but I don't, no one else is ever going to be charged. I'll state it on the record. I've stated on the record before, nothing else is going to be found. No one else is going to be charged. It's just the way it is. He's not going to get a 35C hearing. I will eat this paper here if Chris Watts got a 35C hearing. Not going to happen. Okay. It would go in front of the judge that he pled guilty to, and it's not going to happen. That judge did, that's why they do that colloquy. Is this what you're doing? You knowingly and voluntarily pleading guilty? Yes, I am. You sure as you want to do? The judge almost tries to talk the defendant out of it to make sure this is what he wants to do, so he can't come back with a bunch of buyer's remorse years later. Bottom line, if he'd gone to trial, he'd be able to have the appeal process, whatever. I don't know if he thought it was, it is what it is, but I just told you earlier in the show, nobody pleads guilty to go to prison for the rest of their life. Does it happen occasionally? Yeah. But it's all ultimately the client's decision. But I guarantee you those attorneys papered their file saying you're proceeding against our advice. Why would you want to go to prison voluntarily for the rest of your life? He's not going to get out of prison ever. The only way the guy named Chris is ever going to leave prison, whether it's up in a different state or back here in the state of Colorado, is in a pine box. That's it. He's not getting out. All right. And we do 35Cs. And I'm telling you, it would be tough. Could he have potential issues? But he pled guilty. He pled guilty. All that goes away when you plead guilty. It's called buyer's remorse. That's why the judges do that. That's why they make sure this is what you want to do. Buyer's remorse. He's been there, 2 years now? Ooh, I don't like it. And all of a sudden now, I don't feel like this is the mission that the big guy upstairs had for me, right? Nah, not going anywhere, not going anywhere. Mark my words. That was it. Exactly. He was looking at the potential death penalty. Could he have got that? Yes. In Colorado, yes. Now, we did away with the death penalty last July, but he still would have been subject to it. But with our governor that we have now, he probably, even if he was convicted, if he didn't even got a trial at this point, he would, probably get a life without parole sentence. It would be commuted down that way. But he's not getting out, okay? Those people can give him false hope. If that's what gets him through the day, good on him, all right? But it's not like he's freaking innocent, ladies and gentlemen. Innocent people go to trial. Think about that. All those guys that were exonerated, right? 25, 30 years later because of DNA evidence, they didn't plead guilty. They went to trial. They maintained their innocence throughout. Chris Watts is never getting out. Mark my words. Jane, what about NK? Could she ever be charged? No one's going to be charged. That's just my opinion. It's my opinion. If prosecutors thought that she was involved, they would have charged her at the time that they charged Chris Watts. They went back up there and tried to ask her, was anyone else involved? After when they went up to his prison up there in Wisconsin, right? Wisconsin, Minnesota. I think it's Wisconsin that he's in right now. And kind of asked him, like, is anyone else involved? No. She's not getting charged unless she writes a confession and said, oh, I did this. No way. Not going to happen. No, she's not going to be charged either. No one's getting out. Bottom line. Did any of the cops in Breonna case commit lawlessness? Well, listen to the grand jury tapes, the recordings. We put all of the Breonna Taylor grand jury recordings up, and I, as part of my homework, is to get through listening to all of them. But what I've heard so far, no smoking guns, nothing to say that there was any misconduct on the part of the prosecutor just yet. Now, I'll reserve judgment because I haven't listened to all of them, but like I said, that's on my homework list of things to do in my spare time, is to, analyze those recordings. But don't you think by now those recordings have been out, I guess a week now? They came out late Friday of last week? Friday. Right. Yeah, Friday. And Frank did an amazing job to get all those up as quickly as he did. Right there. You can listen to it. Don't take the word of the press. Don't take the word of some talking head. Go listen to it yourself and see what you think. The parts that I've listened to thus far, nothing that would indicate any wrongdoing. Bottom line is if I shoot at police officers, they're going to shoot back. They got a warrant. They're lawfully they have permission to be there. Now, yes, the boyfriend that did the shooting, he shot. He hasn't been charged because you also have a right to protect your home and you didn't know who it was. And if you didn't hear him, but he hasn't been charged. At least there were charges. They were dismissed. Nothing charged less. Don't see anything, that the boyfriend is going to be charged with anything else. Breonna Taylor's family, and I'm not trying to minimize it. They lost their daughter. Money is not enough to replace it, but $12 million, assuming the attorney probably took 40 to 50%. So that 12 million, they probably got 6 million. It's a personal injury case, so they won't have to pay taxes on it. It's not bad. $6 million. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to take away the pain. They'd rather give the 12 million bucks back, but guess what? They can't. It's not going to change anything. And demanding that the officers be charged isn't going to give you the justice. I'm telling you, if you want justice, don't go to the courthouse. Okay. There's always going to be somebody that goes away unhappy. Let's see. I wish I had money to give you, Scott. I know you probably don't need it, but I wish I had some to give you, man. Well, plumbing explained. Don't need any money. Appreciate it. Save it. Do it yourself. Do something smart with it. Invest it. All right. Let's see here. You're entitled to your opinion, but I believe Scott right now, I don't think will name any names or accomplices. No. Let's see here. Were the police wearing body cams? Was it a no-knock warrant? Did they announce themselves if it was a no-knock? There's some body cam images, but not every one of the officers, I believe, had a body cam image. It was a no-knock warrant, but the police officer said that they still announced themselves. So yeah, just because it is a no-knock warrant authorized by a judge doesn't mean you can't change it. You know, normally kicking indoors, you risk a chance of being shot at. Do you think Scott Peterson's habeas stands any kind of chance? No, I think Scott Peterson, although he had the California Supreme Court vacate his death sentence, I don't think that he is going anywhere either. The California Supreme Court did not do away with the underlying conviction, only the sentencing phase. So if they do not go forward with the new death penalty phase, then it would be he would just do life without parole. So we'll see. Now, okay, yeah, there's evidence that puts NK there during the murders. Like I said, my humble opinion, I don't think that they're ever going to charge anyone further in that particular case. And obviously everyone is given the presumption of innocence. Do you believe in no-knock warrants? No, I'm not a big fan of no-knock warrants. Bottom line, I don't like it. I understand the police will try to justify it. But I think there's less dangerous ways of going in and kicking in doors, so to speak. All right. Well, let's go ahead and let's see. I got one more. Okay, that was Draco and Kodak. Thank you for the super chat. Always appreciate those. We don't ask for them, but I assure you it does make it a lot easier when they are going by. So just want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. We're going to take a quick break. Then we'll go into our Patreon for a bit. We'll continue this conversation as well. And we'll go from there. Melter Skelter, what kind of plane do you fly? Malibu. Piper Malibu, nice little plane, great plane. So we're gonna appreciate it. Antoinette, wow, $35 super chat, dinner on you. Well, thank you very much, Antoinette. Nobody needs to buy me dinner, but thank you very, very much. I appreciate that. All right, so that's all we have for tonight. Thank you. Sorry for kind of the rambling, but unfortunately, like I said, I was in trial. All that adrenaline and then kind of coming down here, but wanted to get back and do our live since a lot of people look forward to it. I know I certainly look forward to it. So thank you very much. We'll see you all on the Patreon show here in just about 15 minutes. Have a great night. Thanks for watching Crime Talk Live on Tuesday night. Have a great night.